Welcome back to another episode of Ty and Fly. Today, Mr. Fly is going to kickstart the book review.
Yeah. Kickstart. I don't even know I'm laughing so much. Yes. Hello, everyone that's watching. We are reviewing the book called The Pressure Principle. Tyler, this is Tyler's pick. But yeah, man, I hope everyone's having a nice day. Hope you've been having a nice period of time. Whatever you're doing, hope you and your family are safe, man. Let's get into it.
Yeah, so The Pressure Principle was actually given to me by my auntie for my birthday a few months ago. And I've actually got a few books, and I got a few books for my birthday, so they're my book selections for the rest of the year when it's my turn. So yeah, this was one of them, and I want to start off just by talking about the beginning, because as soon as I picked up the book, the first page had me. The first page gassed me up, and I don't know if you remember. I'm actually gonna go through the scenario that he talks about. It's like you're in a work environment, you're in the office with your colleagues. You've just thrown a paper ball into the bin, and you've got it in. And one of your colleagues says, "I bet you can't do that again. Let me put £5 on it." And then another colleague comes in. "Oh yeah, I'll put another £5." Then another colleague and 10, whatever. Everyone's now getting involved, saying, "I bet you can't do it again." And now it's the exact same shot, but you're under this pressure because you've got all of these people now putting money on it for you to get to throw the ball in the bin. And then it goes. Your palms are sweaty. You've rolled up the ball. You're about to throw, and this is exactly how the pressure principle works, or something like that. So it doesn't even talk about the outcome of the of the ball. Yeah. So I was like, whoa, okay, let's get into this. I wanted to know if he got the ball in, if he came a ball in the bin. So for me, the book came off to a great start initially. But yeah, I don't know what you thought about the beginning.
Yeah, no, that was definitely a gripping. Like the beginning was intense. It was like a movie.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, but it's, again, like good storytelling, basically. Do you know what I'm saying? No, yeah, I did like it. I mean, when you recommended it, I saw to the guy who worked with Johnny Wilkinson, then David Alred. I was intrigued because I never heard about the book before. So, and I didn't know anything about the author. Originally, I think on one of the books, you said it was written by Johnny Wilkinson. Yeah, he said that. But no, it was interesting. I think dealing with pressure is something that everyone deals with, no matter what you do, no matter what your walk of life is, no matter what type of person you're with. Everyone encounters pressure, and it's good, I think, for like people like ourselves that run our own businesses. It's important to know how to handle that pressure, because it's there whether you choose to ignore it or not. So I was quite intrigued to kind of say, okay, what can I learn from this book? What can I take and kind of implement within my life? And then also it's interesting. I don't know if because obviously I played quite a lot of sports. So a lot of scenarios, it reminded me a lot, man, of when I used to like play football, even when I was playing rugby at school, later stages of my life, like doing boxing and stuff. I kind of related to a lot of things where it's like, oh yeah, I can relate to that feeling. I remember how this and then as well as how I dealt with pressure especially within sporting scenarios, but even within like normal life scenarios. I know we were having a conversation a bit. We don't talk about the books like until now, basically, but I know you mentioned about command pose in one of the conversations. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, no, good, man. And I think like you said, I mean, how did you implement that? How did you find that?
Yeah, I thought there were a lot of things that I could implement or relate to within the book because of the sporting background. And one of the things, I mean, with this book, I feel like they reference a lot of rugby and golf, which are sports that I guess I've played, but never at like a competitive level. So I had to translate them into the sports that I participate in. So I think it would have been nicer for me if I could relate directly to the exact sport, but I still took something out of it. And one of the things that actually really helped me is, as you know, I run from time to time. I try and run, at least once a week. And I went for a run a couple of weeks ago, and the route was a more challenging route. It was a little bit more of a push than I was ready for. And when I get tired in runs, I tell myself, the self-talk. The book talks about self-talk, and I give myself self-talk. Don't quit, don't be weak, don't quit. And I'm literally tired, and I'm just telling myself, don't quit. And at the end of the run, I'm like, you're just kind of relieved because you've made it through. But in the book, it talks about twisting that into a more positive way of self-talk, which I actually found more useful. He talks about, rather than talking about what you don't want to achieve, talk about what you do want to achieve. So when I was out on this run, I was saying to myself, all right, just 15 minutes, just get to the end, just get to the end. And I felt like that was a more it was a kinder way of encouraging myself, whereas before it's kind of like self-hate. Do you know what I mean? In a way, don't be weak, don't quit. It's kind of self-hatey. Whereas telling myself, just get to the end, you can do it. That was a nicer way of encouraging myself through my own self-talk.
I think that ties in a little bit with, I was trying to find it, about what he said about anxiety.
Yeah.
And when people get anxiety about sporting scenarios, again, it's when you're worried about the outcome, as opposed to just kind of taking the process, just kind of going through the process. So it's like when you're kind of in that way of like you said, the negative self-talk, or like the don't quit in that moment, you're making it harder for yourself, putting more obstacles in front of yourself, as opposed to think about the outcome, think about this, or think about the process. Just keep running, and then focus on kind of visualize the end goal, the end game. You know what I mean? But again, I think when you're and funny, we were just talking off camera about managing the team or working with the team. It's even the language which you use when you're kind of dealing with them, or the way you kind of praise them or give them feedback. You'll get a more productive team if your management style is one. Well, I believe your management style is one where, instead of kind of being that authoritative sort of, I don't even want to say negative, because everyone has their management styles, but what I would perceive as negative, you better not do this, or don't do that, or I don't want to see this, I don't want to see that. You kind of talk more about what you do want to see, or kind of help them get through the process if you're in a kind of a leadership position. So definitely, I can see why that benefited you on your run.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? One of the things that I kind of liked when he was talking about, remember talking about the ugly zone?
Yeah.
So
do you know what? I knew when I was reading that bit, I was like, Chris is gonna love this section. I know he's gonna love the ugly zone, because in fact, this is something that you kind of talk about without the book anyway. So you talk about when you train, getting into that ugly zone or that painful zone. I don't know if you necessarily call it the ugly zone, but But anyway, go on.
Yeah, no, it's just, it's you know me well, obviously. You know what I mean? But it's that's so. To go back, I might not say it how he described it specifically in the book, but the ugly zone is like the learning phase, should we say. So if you're, if we're using rugby as an example, if you're a kicker and you're learning to kick, Johnny Wilkinson was a kicker for England, and you've got to be able to, it's that learning curve basically. So you've got to be willing to have those bad kicks, have those bad performances, have those, you're learning all the time. And then from there, you'll get from there to a successful place, to a place where you improve. So it's your learning curve. Some people's learning curves are a lot more steeper than others. But I can relate to that. I think everyone can relate to that, because where even those that are, there's some people you might work with in a sporting scenario that have a very high aptitude for sport. So they can do a lot of different sports. You put them on table tennis, they can do well. You put them on football, they can do well, whatever sport. But even those people still have an ugly zone, because it's all about levels. Do you know what I mean? So you're trying to push whatever level you are, you're trying to push to the next level, and so on and so forth. So that was something that I really enjoyed and related to. And I think, again, not only the reason with what I do, the reason why I like sport so much is because sport is an amazing, I would say this all the time, but it's a wicked metaphor for life. Do you know what I mean? It's anything that you encounter in a sports scenario, whatever sport it is, and the sport's my thing. It could be music, it could be drama, it could be anything, but sport's my thing. So anything you encounter on a sports, in a sports scenario, call it football match. You know, your team goes up, you're winning 1-0, it's half time, you're going in 1-0. Doesn't mean you're going to win the match. You know, vice versa, your team's losing 1-0 at half time, doesn't mean you're going to lose the match. So all those emotions, all those feelings, anxieties, whatever it is you're going to encounter, is actually, it's like a life lesson that you're going to encounter in the real world when you're not in that sporting situation, sporting scenario. So the ugly zone is definitely one of those. If you look at like in education, like academics, if a child's trying to learn and whatever it might be, maths, literacy, whatever it is, they've got to go through that period, that learning curve, that learning period. So it's imperative with personal development, you know.
No, definitely. And I think the ugly zone is necessary for growth. You know, in order to better yourself, in order to push yourself forward, you kind of have to take that next step. I mean, I was relating this specifically in my head when I was reading it to boxing, because obviously me and you both, we box as a hobby, and sometimes we get asked to spar people that are better than us. And you know, it's going in that zone with that little bit of I guess a little bit of anxiety or a little bit of unknown, because we know they're better than us, and we're going into that ugly zone to test ourselves. So that really made me think about boxing when he's talking about the ugly zone.
I think for me, like, I remember, like, even in, like, aside from boxing, even with like certain meetings I've had with people, you know, from like a business perspective, and you're going and I'm like, well, okay, or even, I mean, I can't be related to a job interview, but actually maybe I could in the past, but like really having to stretch myself and really thinking like, okay, I need to really think about the words I'm going to use and make sure that I get my point across, X, Y, Z. Do you know what I mean? And even like what was it? Was it match? You know, we talked about preparation. You know, like training, match, and performance or something like that. Do you remember that one?
I don't remember the exact.
Training, match, repair, training, and match. That was it. So repair is the starting point. So it's when you're trying to learn something new. Then you've got training, which is the repetition, and then match is basically the behavior. So you know when you're actually trying to achieve it. So I did. There's a lot in the book. I've taken loads of notes. Even I was trying to recap on them before we spoke today. But there was definitely some key areas that I think as well, because I've been around rugby people. This is a very much like, his tone reminds me of one of my teachers in school.
Okay.
And he was a rugby man, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have people like Mr. Williams and Mr. Caulfield. They were like very rugby people, and they talk the same as he talks, you know what I mean? Like, so, how's he right? So maybe it was easier for me to kind of relate to it, because I do have those memories of school and playing rugby, but at the same time, it's like, again, it's there to be applied to other things, because pressure doesn't discriminate between sport or life or business or whatever it is. Pressure's there all the time. It's just a matter of how you deal with that pressure.
Definitely. And I think it talks about a lot of ways how we can deal with that pressure and how we can overcome with it. And I think we touched on a little bit of self-talk, you know, using self-talk in a positive way to help you get through these difficult emotions. And it's actually interesting because when I do my webinars, or not so much now, but when I was initially starting to do them, back when the pandemic, you know, initially hit and I started doing my stuff online, I was using some of these things in this book without even realizing. So it talks about the command posture, you know, standing up straight, being in an upright position, because when we're in a negative situation, we generally hunch over. But when we're in a happy or positive place, we open up, sit up straight, chest up. And when I do this before my webinars, you know, stand up, I give myself self-talk, come on, Ty, this is going to be great, nothing to worry about, everything's going to be fine. And it always is. But I used to get those pre-talk nerves or pre-talk anxiety, and even to the point where sometimes my heart is like so using these tactics definitely helped me overcome these initial fears, and now, you know, I feel like I'm at the level doing those where I don't get the nerves anymore, because you you get into that ugly zone. All right, cool. Now the ugly zone is up here. So whereas a webinar for me is fine, but now if I was to go and do a talk to maybe 1,000 people, I might start then getting those nerves again, because that's again another step up.
Yeah, but you hit a new peak.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I mean, I like the command posture. Again, is like I know, but I understand body language. So I know a lot of times, like especially if like I'm dealing with someone, or it might be like a situation where I need to come across as confident. I know if my body language is saying that I'm confident, you know, shoulders back, chest out, kind of head up, looking, making eye contact, or just, you know, be like that. It kind of sends off a message, and then as well as standing that way, it makes me feel a certain way. So when I saw that command posture as well, I was like, okay, that's even, you know, like if I'm sitting here like it's all meek, it's like you're hiding. You know what I mean? It's like you're trying to hide in your body, as opposed to kind of like sitting out. And these are things where, again, it's transferable to all scenarios, man. Be that in whatever sport it could be, you know, be that in life. You know, in life, yeah, exactly. You know, there might be a situation like you as a business owner, you might have with a client, you know, when people are coming to you for like a massage and stuff like that. You want them to look and be like, oh, this guy's, he knows what he's doing, man. He's confident.
Yeah.
He's standing there. He's here to be seen.
Yeah.
He's not trying to hide behind.
Yeah.
Whispering and whatnot. Do you know what I mean? So things like that. And again, these are lessons that you can learn through sport. These are lessons that you can learn in different scenarios, and it helps you deal with the pressure of the situation. Because even if you're in a situation where, you know, you might have a client, or they might be making a complaint or whatever, or kind of give you, you know, it might be not an altercation, but a situation that's untoward. You know, your body language is going to help to regulate how it's going to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you need to be with it, and you know, you need to be, even to be seen as sincere, the way you're looking in the face. So command posture, you know, and even I think, I don't want to go in on this too much because I'm not too certain, but I know the way you stand can release different chemicals in your body or in your brain, rather, like serotonin and stuff like that. So even that alone has an effect. So regardless of even what's coming out of your mouth, the way you stand is going to affect how you feel, which is then going to affect how you're dealing with that pressure.
Definitely. It was definitely a nice reminder for me, definitely. And it's also a reminder that these things can be used in everyday, you know, situations, whether it's going on a date, whether it's going for an interview, whether it's, you know, dealing with some confrontation. Like you can use these tactics, you know, self-talk, command posture. These are things that can help you deal with the pressure. What else did you take from the book?
There was elements of like the thinking clearly under pressure, like TCUP, which actually reminded me of the previous one of the books you read before. Winners.
What book did we have TCUP in?
Winners.
Yes.
Alistair Campbell.
Yes.
So TCUP was a good one because it's very much.
So just for everyone, TCUP it stands for thinking clearly under pressure.
Yeah.
But yeah, go on.
No, and then I mean, in this book, he doesn't really. I mean, Alistair Campbell in Winners describes it differently, or it's a different scenario, different kind of book. But in this one, it's kind of like he talks about displacement. So displacing your thoughts. So he gives a scenario about England versus Germany, Euro '96 maybe, or '90 semi-final. Yeah. And the German guy, Kuntz, I think his name is, or Kuntz, I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
And then he was walking down to take the penalty, and he was kind of, instead of thinking about like, oh, I might miss, he displaced it. He started thinking about, oh, if I miss this penalty, my children are gonna get teased in school. I don't want my children to get. So now he's kind of changed it, like he's taking his penalty now for his family, so his children don't get teased in school. So that was that's like a very kind of extreme part. Well, not that extreme, but extreme enough kind of displacement. But it's like, what he's trying to say is, or what the author is saying is, when you're dealing with a situation, don't get too focused on the situation. Sometimes just kind of a thought displacement, so whatever it is, if you're doing a driving test, don't get too wrapped up in it, just trying to maybe change your thought process a little bit, kind of relieve the pressure. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Because sometimes you can focus on something that can bring a lot of mental fatigue. You're too focused.
and not just relieves the pressure, but it can help to improve your purpose. Because, you know, in that scenario, it was, you know, oh, if I score this, you know, our team's going to win. Fantastic. But if I score this, my children won't get bullied. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's a change of purpose. And, you know, well, I'm not a father, but but I imagine that is a much more, you know, rewarding thought, you know, knowing that your children are safe and happy.
It's just a perspective change at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? You just change the perspective, you know? It's even like he talks about changing anxiety into excitement. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, again, let's use a football situation, like, or, you know, use a boxing one more relative, you know, like, if you're having a match or a bout, and then, like, you're thinking about, you might feel it's natural to feel anxious about these things before you go out, and then you can think, okay, instead of thinking like, oh my gosh, I might be, you think, all right, like, if I win this, boy, what is this going to do for me? Or, you know, same with a job interview, you know, which is more or less a lot more people, like, you know, instead of thinking about, I'm so scared, think, no, like, this is, like, I'm excited about, because think about how many people would want to be in your position. Yeah. You know, you're lucky to even get that opportunity to be talking to that prospective employer. So then it's like, right, actually, I'm quite in a fortunate position, man. This is lucky. I'm lucky to be here. And it kind of changes it, you know, and I'm even lucky to be feeling this level of anxiety, you know. So that was something I liked as well, about how to kind of change that, you know, and I know that it's all kind of intertwined with, like, the command posture, the self-talk, you know, you kind of, before the routine, the pre-match ritual, things like that. Yeah. It's how, like you said when you're doing before you do your seminar, your webinars, you kind of have a little ritual, you kind of have a conversation with yourself, whatnot. Do you know what I mean? So it all brings it into routine. So you don't even have to kind of think about the specifics of it, because you're following the routine. Following the routine. I bet now when you're doing your webinars, you're doing it, and your mind you're doing it so naturally that you're not even exerting that much mental energy.
100%. When I first used to do them, do you know how tired I used to get? when I started doing them, they would tire me out for the day, like as if I've been out workout or something, like for intense workout. And I'm thinking, why am I so tired? And then it was only after talking to a mentor who mentioned, you know, well, you have done your session today, and you know that, you know, if you was nervous or whatever, that could have drained you a bit. And I was like, oh yeah, maybe that's why. But yeah, now it doesn't drain me as much. But I think what you said as well there was practice, because I mean the famous quote, prepare to fail, fail to prepare, and prepare to fail. And he talks about, you know, practicing a lot in the book, you know, practicing under different scenarios, different environments, and as close to the match, or, you know, as close to the whatever it is you're doing as possible. So so with my seminars, for example, my webinars, before I deliver them, I always practice them, and I practice it in the same way as if there were people watching. So it's just kind of getting me in that zone, so that when I do go in the match situation or the live situation, I'm more prepared to deliver it. And I thought that was, again, a nice reminder, you know, practice makes perfect. Practice. There was also... Practice makes permanent. Practice makes permanent. There was also a quote as well that I wrote down. It's not a case of getting rid of the butterflies. It's a question of getting them to fly in uniform. I think that's such a great quote, because we all feel fear and anxiety and stress and pressure. Like, we all handle it differently. We all think about it differently, but it's a human nature, you know, we still feel it. It's just different people overcome it in different ways. And, you know, someone might look at me doing my webinars and think, wow, you know, like I could never do that. But like I said, I initially felt fear doing it, you know, initially felt anxiety, I initially felt these feelings. But using self-talk, using practice, using command postures, using these kind of things helped me to overcome and deal with these pressures and fears. So I think, that's just... I think I remember that quote. That's and I agree with it, like, 100%, because
it's not about trying to suppress. Some people try and lie to themselves and then, oh no, I don't feel pressure. Like everyone feels do feel it. But I feel like if you're trying to suppress it, so with those butterflies, for example, you're trying to kind of suppress those butterflies, basically kill those butterflies, you're now bringing something else you have to contend with because you're trying to lie to yourself that you don't feel it. As opposed to like, accepting, this is how I feel. Do you know what I mean? That's self-awareness.
Yeah.
It's self-talk. It doesn't, and it's natural, isn't it? Just a natural situation. So, that was peak when you said that, man.
Yeah.
I think, go on.
No, and it can help in situations like you said, if you're just trying to suppress it and get, pretend like it's not there. I feel that could hinder you. Whereas if you accept that it's there and you're like, I've got this fear, I've got this anxiousness, but let's use that to advantage. Let's use that as excitement. Let's use that to get a better performance out of this situation.
No, that reminds me. I mean, it's nothing to do with this book, but I saw an interview just a long time ago. I might have even said it before, I'm not sure. But what's his name? Conor McGregor, when he was about to fight Mayweather, and they was talking to him. It was interview like about how he deals with pre-match nerves or pre-bout nerves, whatever. And then and when he said this, the penny kind of dropped to me. That's why I reiterated it. It's book because he's like, when I go into a fight, I'm 100% aware of how I feel. And like I said, I know how I feel, but I'm also aware the other guy feels the same way.
Yeah.
So it's like that self-awareness. He knows what the other guys think, because again, we're all human. We're all thinking more or less the same thing to some degree. So it's like the fact that I am aware of how I feel, I'm aware how the other person feels. So as much as when we're doing the stare down, the face off, all this kind of stuff, they can try and put on whatever mask they can put on. But at the end of the day, I know how you're feeling. And the reason I know how you're feeling is because I know how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
So again, it's that self-awareness, And it's like, okay, I think if you're more able to be aware of how you feel, and then just go from there, as opposed to trying to fight against that, because like you said, it's something else you've got to contend with. It's another inner struggle, should we say? Because now you're like, no, I feel fine, even though you're lying to yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. They also talk about how he got the rugby squad to work with the Marines.
No, that was it.
And do like these crazy physical tests, mentally prepare them for all these situations. And I think, that's just another example of putting yourself in that ugly zone.
You gotta go into it, man. Describe. Do you remember what happened?
Yeah. Well, the one where they're under the water.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I want to hear you describe it. I think you're gonna do it better than me, because I could tell it hit you harder than me.
No, it was good. So maybe we'll do it together. So anyway, they're trying to replicate. Was it a helicopter crashing? So they sit in the helicopter hangar, but it goes into water. So it tips into water. Then you can't open the windows straight away because the water will fill up. It's got to be 30 seconds or 15 seconds.
Yeah. So I think something to do with the pressure. If you try and get out as soon as you hit, it won't open or something because of the way the pressure is. Yes. So it's saying that you need to put your head up, get as much oxygen as you can to just fill up your lungs with as much oxygen, and then hold your breath for 30 seconds before you can even get out. So underwater, you can't breathe. You have to wait before you can even attempt to get out, and you're drowning. You're getting lower and lower, and that was a mad example.
And it gets progressively harder. So the first time you do it, you get out, cool. You do it again, but I think they change seats.
Yes.
You change seats, so at least it's not like you did it. Cool. I know how far I am from the window, and I think it's pitch black as well. It was in the dark when they turned the lights on or whatever. So anyway, when I was reading that, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. So that was like they done that with the rugby team to kind of help them deal with pressure, I guess, obviously, and then as well, like to show it's what the Marines do, and to see if they can kind of transfer that onto like when they're playing rugby, the rugby matches, stuff like that. I think it's good. It's team building. There's a lot. I remember with one of the youth organisations I work with, we took them away for a weekend to like a army sort of training base sort of thing, and we did similar thing, nothing like that, but they did like we went on mud runs. which is hard, man. You're wearing like the army, and I did it with them. I was like, I did it with them, and like you're wearing these boots, you're wearing the whole army gear, you're running, you're carrying logs up mountains, you're going through swamps and all this kind of stuff. And it's funny because obviously like the kids that we work with, they're quite they're brazen kids. I mean, a lot of there was like a few girls that were mainly boys, kind of hard on the exterior anyway, and like you see a different side to them, and I think it's good because it reveals a lot about the character of that person, a lot to themselves as well. Do you know what I mean? Because you've got some of them on the mud run, one of them can't get out and they're trying to help me and whatever, and like, then you're trying to help them. Some of them are like the leaders, you can see the leaders come straight away, I can't, everyone, let's help them get out. You know, so things like that really bring a group together. And they're like, with these kids that was working with, it's like even now when I see them, because a lot of this was a few years ago, so a lot of them are older now, but when you see them, it's like you still got a connection. Like, how are you doing? Like, how's it going? Some of them are boxers, so you know, a lot of them were boxers at the time actually. Like, look, things like this is gonna help build character within you. You know, some of them are obviously still in school and whatnot, so it was good. And I think things like that are really, really good and really important, especially I think for high level athletes.
Yeah,
things like that good because you need to sometimes you need to be put into a totally foreign situation, totally foreign scenario, and see, okay, how are you gonna deal with this? Let's see. You're in a problem now. You're in a helicopter in the swimming pool. It's dark. You can't breathe. You've got to wait 30 seconds. Go.
Yeah. And I personally feel that a lot of success comes out of these difficult moments. It's kind of that either make or break moment. So it's like, you know, with the pandemic, for example, it's thrown a lot of curveballs out there, and some people have, you know, thrived in this environment because they've panicked and they've, you know, bounced back out of it. Whereas, you know, some people unfortunately have, you know, not been able to cope with the pressures and the stresses of it. So it's like, if people had experienced, you know, more of these uncomfortable situations, they may have been in a better position to be able to handle some of, well, you know, what's going on now. True. So I think even just for life, putting yourself in these high pressure situations is so beneficial for character building, for just everything in general. But yeah, that example of going in the water, that was an extreme example. I was thinking, when I was reading it, I was thinking, would I do this? Or like, I was thinking, would I do this? Or how would I do if I was doing this? Or I was just thinking, this is a bit extreme, you know? Like,
I was thinking, I was like, wow, this is something, because it reminds me, I've read the book already. It reminds me of David Goggins. You know David Goggins?
Yeah.
I read his autobiography or his book, Can't Break Me or Can't Beat Me. But it's a very long book, so I was thinking to read on the challenge. But anyway, he talks about some stuff that he did, the Marines. It's crazy stuff they do, man. And it's like, you have to respect it. Because these guys really put themselves in mad situations that you think, are you crazy? You are crazy, in fact. I'm telling you, you're crazy. Do you know what I mean? Like, but you can only respect them because it's like, but again, it shows that the reality of it is, if you had to, you would. I believe anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like, you had to do that, and if that was your choice, you definitely would. You could do anything. So it's
I think they build it up in a way as well that you know, encourages you to have success because, you know, they put you in your uncomfortable zone step by step to build you up to you know, to be able to handle these situations, as opposed to going straight onto a crazy thing. You know, some people might crack in that, but having that gradual build in that uncomfortable zone, you know, definitely helps elevate. That
was good, man. I think I did enjoy the book. I did enjoy it. There's a lot, like, I did like some of the scenarios he spoke about. I think there was one where he talked about a girl, I'm not sure if it was a made up situation, where she went for the job interview. And then she had to redo the interview with the director. I don't know if that was a made up situation or not. But it was interesting because I think that when he was reading, so I'll go back a little bit. There was a girl, she was interviewing for a position in a company. I think it was something with media, I don't remember. And then they invited her back for a second interview. She went there, a few things went wrong. The room they were supposed to have got booked. Then they walked past the managing director who was like, oh, okay, have the meeting in my room. If you don't mind, I'll sit in on the interview. So they have the interview in my room, I'll sit in. And then she was like, okay, cool. So they're asking the questions, but they were asking the questions a lot of the time, like it was like a brand new interview. But the managing director hadn't been in on the first interview. So, but because the other two people had been, she was kind of like, well, do I tell them stuff they've already heard? Or do I cater to the managing director? You know, she made the wrong choice. She was kind of like skimming over things. She wasn't very impressive or very memorable to the managing director. Plus all the other pressures that took place in that time kind of like overwhelmed her. So how did she feel? She didn't do it the right way. It actually reminded me of an interview that I did like a long time ago when I just left uni. And I remember sitting down. It was a bit of a madness. It was in a sports center. And when same similar thing with the room happened. When I sat down, what did I do? I sat down and I think I took off my jacket. And somehow as I took off my blazer, my tie's come undone halfway through. And listen, man, and I don't even know what happened. My tie's come undone. So it's like I'm there, and I'm like, I can feel it. But I just feel quite cool there. I said, I made a little joke about it, and then tied it up. It's funny. I don't know. So it reminded me of that anyway. It reminded me of that.
But you handled that nicely by the sounds of it, because some people might have been like, oh no, I need to go to the bathroom, recheck my ties exactly in the right place, because this might be the difference between whether I get the job or not. But
I didn't get the job anyway.
But maybe it was your tie, man.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, no, I think as I've got older, I've realised that I do actually handle pressure quite well. But again, it's not for the like. That's because it's for a number of reasons. That's because you've been in a lot of pressure situations. You know, you've had uncomfortable scenarios. You've been in a lot. So, you know, as you get older, you just kind of learn from them, don't you? So I think, But a lot of that comes from sport, man. Yeah. Honestly, I tell you, man. I remember a lot of it, man. The most, because even he talks about it as a child, using the scenario of like when a child's learning to play a sport. You know, there's no pressure. They're just playing. They just whatever the sport is, they're just playing the sport. They fall over, they get up again, they kick, they miss, they don't care. But as you get older and as you progress through the sport, it stops being fun and it starts becoming like a job sort of thing. So now, you know, and I see it a lot with like young footballers. Like, there's so much pressure on them. It's like you guys are 14, 15, 13. You're not even enjoying the game anymore because you're trying to, whether you're at a pro club or you're trying to get to a pro club, you know, it's such a hard thing. So I know for me, I stopped enjoying playing football in primary school, man. Like year 5, year 6, I was under pressure, man. I felt pressure at that age. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Where it wasn't really fun. The fun had gone. It wasn't no longer fun. Not like I was trying to be a pro. I wasn't, but you know, played to a decent enough level throughout my youth. But it was like, I remember not really enjoying it. I enjoyed it after. And again, I was like, I don't want to make any mistakes. That was my thing. I don't want to be the one that ruins it for the team. Do you know what I mean? But as I've got older, like now when I don't play football anymore, but as I got older, I kind of managed to be like, to realise, to change my mentality in that sense. So but I think I learned a lot of that through sport and talking to other people that I saw, like, just to see like, wow, man, you're just blind, man. I remember speaking with one of my friends and like, he was playing a position with another one of my, on our team. They were like the 2 best players. And then I was like don't we went to Blackpool tournament in Blackpool. And then it was like, I was like, do you not feel like, tell him how I feel. I was like, wow, man, like, so then he was like, Ray, how do you be grateful? I'm playing midfield with my man, like, he's I don't think like, but you're a baller. And you're worried about playing with him. Do you know what I mean? So it just kind of, you know, you don't believe it's that way. Other people feel this. That was that was a moment where I kind of realised, like, okay, this is normal. This is normal, yeah. Everyone feels it at times, you know. Everyone feels these emotions at times. Definitely normal. The other thing, affirmations. I liked it when he talks about affirmations because I try and use affirmations, you know, in general. And I think it just comes back to self-talk as well. But I think what I liked about the book was, again, the way it talks about how to do your affirmations. Talking about, remind me. So he says, talk about what you want to do rather than what you want to avoid. So again, talking about the running example, you know, talking about I want to get to home rather than not avoiding quitting. So talking about
positive affirmations, talking about what you want to achieve, focusing on that thing that you want specifically. Just because it's kinder on yourself, it's more of a positive way of looking at things, rather than giving yourself a negative affirmation and saying, oh, I don't want that, and focusing on that. Like I think he says, if I tell you don't think about elephants, and then we obviously I say, okay, tell me the first animal that comes to your head. It's an elephant. So I really like the reminder of the affirmations, because I'm talking to myself all the time.
With affirmation, I used to do affirmation, and I've checked it, so I didn't make any notes of it, mostly because it didn't really touch me. But like, I've kind of like, I used to do affirmations a lot for like a long time, and then obviously when I kind of, like with Tony Robbins, he's got a perspective on affirmation, it's like, which I agree with. It's like, there's one, I guess it depends on how you say it and what state you're in when you say the affirmation. So I think for me personally, when I was doing affirmations, I was going through the process. There's not much emotion tied into what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I think it's got to be said with emotion. You've got to get yourself into an emotional state sort of thing. So, because I don't know, man, it's one thing like, I will be this and I will do that and I will do that. And maybe that's kind of, I just got into that phase. So affirmations are kind of like, it's how it's done.
I definitely agree. It's how it's done, because if you're just saying it for the sake of it and you're not feeling it, or just saying words, it's like, for me, it's pointless. I feel like you really have to mean what you're saying and really want what you're affirming. So I think if you're just reading something and it doesn't resonate with you, but it's something positive, it's nice to read it, it may help. But to really feel it, I think it has to be specifically relevant to you and what you actually want to achieve and what you actually want.
I agree.
Do you remember the bit in the book where it talks about resulting? Because I want to touch on that. I don't know if you might. So I mean, to be fair, it was only a short bit, but it reminded me, because obviously Annie Duke talks about resulting in our thinking.
Say it, might come back to me. Go
on. But he talks about practicing shooting shots in golf, and how you go through the process of doing a shot, you go in a position. I'm not going to describe it because I don't know the posture that you need, but you hit the ball and it's a perfect hit. You've hit it perfectly and the ball lands right next to the flag. But because there's a slant on the grass, the ball rolls back down another 50 meters and it goes in the bunker. Now, in theory, that's a bad shot because the outcome, it ended in the bunker. That's not where you wanted the ball to go. It ended in the bunker. The aim of golf is to get the ball in the hole. But the actual technique and the actual shot, the actual thing that he was aiming for, it was delivered in a positive and in the right way. It's just the outcome wasn't desired because the ball ended up rolling back. And I think that was just a nice reminder of the resulting concept and how it can be used in sport, because, and how it can be used in sport.
No, it's funny. And you just reminded me of like, it's good to see, it's good to see with these books or the mindsets and how they appeal, how me personally, like, apply it to normal life, isn't it? Like, I'll go into it, So obviously, we got a friend, like, I did a corner, like a boxing corner a few weeks ago, so like white collar boxing. A friend of mine, he asked me to do his corner, no problem. And that's the best I've ever seen in box. And I've seen him box a lot. And that's the best I've seen him box, like, ever. And with white collar boxing, I'm not going to go into it, but you sometimes get dubious decisions. Let's play that way. So he didn't win. He got given a loss. But then, after I was quite upset. I was quite disappointed because he did work quite hard to try and get that win.
And in your opinion, he won. He did the better work.
Definitely, definitely, 100%. But so anyway, after now we're talking, he's quite, for me, I know how much it means to him, so I'm upset for him. So then after I was like, and I wasn't thinking about nothing. I was thinking boxing. I wasn't thinking about none of this, like books or something like that. Yeah. Then I said to him, I said, actually, that's forget about the fact that they gave you the loss there, because that's the best I've seen you box. Like, remember how you felt, because that in the ring he was, really boxing well. He's been enjoying himself. He's doing things that he normally does in training, in sparring and stuff like that. So I was like, that's like, forget about the result, because the results are relevant. To be honest with you, it's white collar boxing. A win's not going to change anyone's life. I mean, there was a belt on the line, but the belt's not going to change anyone's life. You're doing this. It's a pastime. It's like, it's a hobby. So the result, you should just be happy with the performance, because you actually box really well. So it's good to know whether it's, and I feel like maybe, that's that. Would I have had that perspective before even definitely thinking in bets? I don't know. So you just kind of just showed that to me still.
Yeah.
So,
no, I love that concept, and it was nice to see it in a sporting example as opposed to life situations, because you've done everything right. I guess it'd be the same, you prepare hard for, like in that scenario, prepared hard for the boxing match. You've done everything possible, but you just didn't get the result. So it's like, you just didn't get the outcome. So everything was right. It's just unlucky, and these things happen. So that
was kind of a thing. So with the resulting thing, again, you could prepare. Let's call it like a job interview. Prepare perfectly for it, or for the first day of the new job. And how he refers to it in the book is dislocated expectations.
Yeah.
So do you remember that? So that's basically like, again, that was with the Marines, with the part about the Marines, where you can kind of whatever. So just look the thing what he says, like, the Marines training breeds the mindset that whatever the operation, however uncertain the circumstance, we can succeed here. So with the dislocated expectations, what that basically means is, all right, you could be going to a job interview and you'll say, yep, I'm going to get the 9:52 train. It's going to get me there at 9:25. And my interview is at 9:30.
Wait. Let me just pause you. Let's go back. You said 9:52 train.
You're going to get a train at a certain time, Sorry, the 9:52 train going to get there at 10:25.
Yeah.
Funny guy. Then basically you can have an expectation, so you think you're going to get there, but there could be a train delay. Do you know what I mean? So now you've got a dislocated expectation. You've got a few choices. You can stay on the bus, stay on the train. You could get off and stop early. You could get a cab from. You've got to deal with it.
Yeah.
If something's gone wrong, you could run there. You can call them and say whatever it is. You've got to deal with it, because now you thought the train was going to get there at a particular time at 9:52 or whatever, 9:25, but now it's not getting at that time. So you're going to be late. You've got a dislocated expectation. You thought it was going to go this way, but now it's gone this way. So what are you going to do to get back on track? So again, man, and that is pressure in itself.
Yeah. I didn't actually take the name of it, because I remember that part, but the term he used was dislocated expectations.
Yes.
Which I didn't actually write down. So thanks for giving me that reminder, because changing your expectations once a scenario has happened and something's happened.
You expected one outcome, but another outcome's happened. And again, so from there now, so what do we think? How do we move? How do we go?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, and again, the way you, again, with the self-talk, with the preparation, with all of that, will put you in a better position. With, like you're saying, with your webinars, maybe you might have had a situation where you're online and then the internet cuts out.
Yeah.
All right, how are we doing this? Or you're online and
do you know what? It happened. It happened. So one of my sessions, coping with stress, that I deliver to corporates, and at this time my laptop was my old laptop was dying a little bit, and I was in the process of getting a new laptop. I was like, okay, let me just wait a couple more weeks, which was the stupid thing to do. Anyway, mid webinar, it cuts out, like it goes blank. My screen goes black, and I'm panicking. But I'm delivering a stress webinar, so I'm like, okay, let me just use exactly what I talk about in my sessions and calm myself down. So I've reset the computer now. I'm going through my breathing exercises. I'm thinking about, this isn't actually the end of the world. You know, I can always re-deliver this session at a later date, offer a refund, etc., etc. And I reboot it, and it feels like forever. Like, it feels like it's taken 10 minutes, but it was actually about a minute when I spoke to the people in the session, and it rebooted, and then I was able to carry on and deliver the session, you know, just normal. I'm able to detach in that moment, but only by using those examples, only by using my own advice in that moment to just calm myself, relax myself, and get on with it. But yeah, no, I just thought I'd bring up that story because it aligns, doesn't it?
Let me ask you a question, yeah? Do you think pressure is a good thing or a bad thing?
I think
What's
it's a
your
good
views on
thing.
pressure?
I think it's a good thing. Pressure is a good thing in the right examples, because it makes you. For me personally, I wouldn't have achieved certain things without pressure. I wouldn't have achieved certain things without pressure. I personally have needed certain things to push me and motivate me.
Give an example.
To say that again.
Can you give an example?
The pandemic is the first example. That's the most recent one, I guess. Everything lock off, business shut down, no income coming in, pressure. How am I paying my bills? If that's not pressure, I don't know what is. So I had to, you know, forward thinking, you know, get on my feet and use that pressure to make me thrive, you know, make me do stuff. So overall, I think it is good, but overall, I think it's good. That's my answer.
Cool.
What about you?
No, definitely good. Do you know what I mean? Because it's whether you like it or not, it's pressure. Like, pressure exists. Do you know what I mean? Whether you like it or not, it's different degrees of pressure and different situations where it plays its part. But whether you're kind of working in a high-powered job, whether you're like Elon Musk, where you run a massive international company, or your mother, or father, or parents, I say, your parent who just wants, it's your child's first day at school, or you want to just make sure you get food on the plate for the table, sorry. The pressure's there regardless, you know what I mean? So I think it's a good thing, yes, because it extends people and it helps them, you know, but again, it's very important how you deal with it. Because some people don't deal with pressure. No, everyone deals with pressure, but some people deal with it the right way, some people deal with it the wrong way. So what I mean? So it just depends how you deal with it. I think, again, I realised, again, one thing this book did do is it kind of showed me how I operate. It kind of showed me when under pressure, it talks about, I forget what he calls it, but like when you basically get tunnel vision, you know, where you just focus in on what is important, where the pressure's coming to, and nothing else matters. You don't care about anything else. So I mean, so I forget how we called it, but it kind of showed me a lot about that for myself, and I'm like, yeah, I definitely get that. I think it's synchronized thinking, he calls it, something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember the term.
But yeah, it's like I was like, oh yeah, you know what, I do that a lot. You know, if I've got a big, like, if we've got a holiday camp coming up, and we've got X amount of kids registered, and we're gonna have this amount, all this stuff going on, everything else takes the back burner, to be honest with you, you know, or not everything, but the priority is like, what is the main source of pressure is there, everything else is second, third, fourth, and so on and so forth. But no, I think it's good. I think definitely it's good. It's required, and it's like you build off that, and it's like a muscle. You know what I mean? That resilience, you build up that resilience, and you know that scenario. So now you know, like, wow, okay, you've been through this, and you was able to deal with a pandemic because of things you dealt with in the past. So I mean, because you're able to draw. Now you know what? I remember that time when X, Y, Z happened, and I still managed to make it. And now, like, I remember the pandemic where that was peak. You know what? But now, so because it's gonna keep coming, like, problems just don't stop. Pressure doesn't stop. Do you know what I mean? I think, like, the better you are at solving problems, the better you are at thinking clearly under pressure. You know, the further you're getting, like.
I think you know, I agree with that. I think if you're able to handle pressure, it just puts you in a better frame of mind. You're just able to handle life slightly better. I mean, I guess we could flip it on the other side, where some people don't deal with pressure, and you know, those people.
That's what I'm saying to you. Sorry, bro. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone deals with pressure, but in different ways.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So I could be in a pressure situation and be like, oh man, like, let's say our business isn't going well. Damn, I'm gonna go to the pub and just get drunk and forget about all my problems. Do you see what I mean? That's how some people deal with it.
Yeah.
That's how some people deal with it. So everyone deals with it. Your situation was, I'm gonna get on my grind.
Yeah.
I'm saying, I'm getting on this grind. I'm getting on it. So, I mean, you could have just, and you would have the perfect excuse. No one could argue and say that to you. You could have been like, say, you know what? You know what I mean? Could have gone off the rails, bro.
No, 100%.
So everyone deals with it. So what are you gonna say?
I was gonna flip it on its head and say, you know, some people, you know, deal with it in a negative. I don't know if negative is the word I want to use, but in a way that doesn't encourage them to thrive. So, for example, in my example, when I put in pressure, I see pressure as a way or as an opportunity to, you know, to rise, to challenge myself. Whereas some people, it does the exact opposite to them. It puts them in their shell. It crumbles them. It, you know, it leaves them in a bad way. So, but again, that's basically what you're saying about, you know, how everyone deals with it, because yeah, everyone deals with it. It's just in different ways. But I've also just realized the time as well in terms of how long we've been talking. So I want to get on to our star rating, our readability rating, how easy it was to read, and our star rating. And I think I went last time.
You did.
Yeah. So
you went first. I'll go first. What's the first one? Readability.
Yeah, let's go with readability. Yeah.
I'll give it a 2 point. Oh wait, the higher the harder. It wasn't hard. It was 2.5. 2.5.
Yeah. Okay. And why?
There was a lot of references to like you said, like golf and rugby. I mean, it wasn't a hard read.
Yeah.
I didn't really like the use of diagrams.
Yeah. Say that again.
I mean, it wasn't hard. It wasn't easy. It was just a Google read. It wasn't a hard read. It wasn't an easy read. It was just a read. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that's what I give it. What about you?
No, I echo that. 2.5 was exactly what I was going with, because it wasn't a hard read, but it wasn't an easy read. You know, I actually didn't really like the author's writing style, if I'm honest. Yeah, I didn't really like the flow of the book either in terms of his writing style. I took a lot from it, but I didn't like the writing style.
I did like, sorry, just quickly. I did like the end, how he brought it to. You see, he finished the story.
Okay, yeah.
That was good. I was like,
yeah.
Okay. He's actually brought it together. That was good storytelling.
Yeah.
Sorry, next one is my turn.
Star rating. How good out of 5? What are you giving this?
Can I do 2.75?
Why you always want to make it difficult for me?
Yeah, no.
But go on, justify it. Go on, justify it.
I enjoyed parts.
Yeah.
Sparingly, but again, I don't know, because I feel like I didn't love it. I don't think I'd read it again. Maybe it was the style of the writing. I don't know. It was but it wasn't like, I wouldn't put it 2.5. I wouldn't give it it's more than average. It's above average, but just above average. That's basically my reasoning for that. You know, I didn't really like the use of the diagrams, and I don't know, man. I can't really put my finger on it, but I didn't really. There was, but it did have some good knowledge in it.
Yeah.
And I do like the message about dealing with pressure, but I didn't love the book. And I feel like it's just above average.
Yeah. Okay.
If that makes any sense.
No, that makes sense. And we need to disagree, man, on one. Because for me,
I love this book.
Nah, do you know what? I was
hoping that.
Oh, you was hoping? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm giving this a 2.5 because, it's not getting a 2.75 from me. because I mean, I would have given it less if it didn't have the gems. The only reason it's getting a 2.5 is because it did have some gems in there that I did really like and appreciate, and nice reminders, you know, with the command posture, the self-talk, the way to do affirmations, the resulting. So, I mean, it was knowledgeable. It did have useful stuff in it, but I just didn't enjoy reading it. You know, yeah, it took me long to read. You know, I wasn't motivated in the mornings to read it. I was just kind of reading to get through it in a way. Whereas The Alchemist, for me, for example, I was excited to read that and I read it quick but this, it didn't grip me.
I think this book, I would recommend it if you're a coach starting out.
Yeah.
This is a very good book.
Yeah.
That's what, I mean, and that's why I think I give it that 2.75.
Yeah.
That extra little bit. But I feel like if you're like a coach starting out and you're gonna work, you want to work with elite players or high level athletes, it's a good book to read.
Yeah. I mean, it does have gems,
especially in a sporting context, you know. And I'm thinking maybe because obviously, you know, because I work in a coaching capacity, I did take, you know, but again, I couldn't give it a 3. I stick with the number I gave it to you. But I can see what you're saying. I mean, there were some parts of it that I just thought were kind of like forgettable.
Yeah.
It wasn't a bad book, so I don't want to kind of dump on it too hard. But I couldn't give it a 3, but I think it's more. So 2.75 is a fair number. Sorry, that's good.
No, that's cool. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. That's our ratings. 2.5 for me and an awkward 2.75. I don't even have the star thing to put it up there. So yeah, we'll see how the editing goes for that one. But remember, support the Ting. Our next month's book is your recommendation. We've got Rethinking Positive Thinking. I don't know if you want to give a quick update on why we're reading this book.
Yeah, you know, I've got mine I'm in a different room today. I'm intrigued to read this book. You know, there's a podcast I listen to from time to time called the Happiness Podcast, and they reference this book on 1 or 2 podcasts that I listened to quite a while ago now. But I just think I'm interested to see, because you know I'm a positive person, so are you. But there is, I'm surrounded by a lot of positive people, and I'm just interested because I don't want to. Sometimes I think if you're positive, you kind of think you have to remain positive all the time.
Yeah.
And especially on the podcast that I listen to, she kind of mentions that it can become quite toxic because then you're not necessarily acknowledging what's going on. You know, and then she kind of went into this book, and I thought, you know, that sounds like an interesting concept. So I'm just intrigued to kind of see what the book holds, really. Let me see how thick is that? It's 200.
Yeah, it's like 200 and something. 207. These are the notes. Yeah, it's like 200 pages. It seems quite thick lines. I think it'd be all right. It'd be easier than a last month's book, I think, based on the size.
I'm into, like, you know, I'm excited to read that book.
Yeah, cool. All right. So remember, people, support the Ting. If you're enjoying these reviews, hit that like, hit the subscribe, and also get involved in the comments. Let us know if you've read any of the books. Let us know if there's books that you want us to read that maybe we might review one day. But most importantly, support the Ting. And yeah, that's it.
Big up to everyone that read, because we got a lot of things about Alchemist. I've got a lot of comments and messages about that. So big up to everyone that read it or that has gone. Because I know a few people have gone to buy it off the back of the video.
Off the back of it, wicked.
Yeah. Peace,
so yeah,
man.
all right. Peace and
love.
Peace
and love, yeah. There you go.
Peace and love.